It's taken 2 weeks, but on Friday we finally heard from the Premier League regarding the Newcastle United takeover via a letter to a local MP. And on balance, I think it's fair to say we can say this takeover is dead in the water. The Premier League have finally broken their silence over the ongoing stalemate with the Newcastle takeover. They haven't come out and made an official statement. Instead, they sent a letter to a local MP, which has now been widely circulated. In the letter from Richard Masters, he addresses the questions sent to him. The main point Masters addresses is about who would actually be running Newcastle United. Masters used the phrase person or entity quite a few times, and in my view this clearly alludes to the fact the Premier League believe that the country of Saudi Arabia, an entity, would be actually pulling the strings and that the bidding consortium aren't being truthful. The issue with this, in my view, is that the consortium claim to have proved that the Saudi PIF is separate to the Saudi government, and this is where this stalemate arises. What's frustrating is that the Premier League owners and directors test is meant to be objective. If it is objective, the evidence that exists is that the Saudi PIF is different to the Saudi government. Of course, being realistic, I think we know that the two are entwined, and I suppose that's what the Premier League think too. But going by their criteria of the owners and directors test, they should be accepting legal facts rather than digging for more. Masters claims that the Premier League offered to have the matter determined by an independent arbiter. Clearly the Premier League did not want to approve the takeover, and so offering a tribunal, which they know will take months if not years, would be enough to put the Saudis off. And it worked. Now, the consortium themselves hit back at the offer of an independent arbiter, stating via a source close to Staveley, the Premier League wanted to arbitrate before they gave a ruling, but the buyers deserved a decision first. Normally you go to arbitration after failing the test, but they weren't told they'd failed the test. And really, this is the whole issue in a nutshell. The Premier League refused to fail or pass it. We know this because Staveley herself came out and told us this a couple of weeks ago after the deal collapsed. And whether you believe the Premier League is right or wrong to block this deal, the fact is a decision should have been made one way or the other. All of their stalling appears, to me at least, to have been a tactic in order to avoid legal action by not committing to failing the takeover. They avoid being the body who can be appealed against. On one hand it's clever, but on the other hand it's actually pretty cowardly. And of course the whole issue of why they wouldn't want to approve the Saudis comes back to who else is putting pressure on them. What external forces are applying the pressure? Because when Masters said in the letter that the process was carried out only by the Premier League board, I'm not sure I agree with him. We know Qatar are influential and we're also dead set against this deal happening. We also know Masters has held meetings with them. What was discussed in these meetings? We'll obviously never know, and Masters can hide behind the privacy of these meetings, but it's obvious that pressure has been applied to him. How Masters and the Premier League board were affected by such pressure will never be known unless there's a whistleblower willing to come out, which is very, very unlikely. And then we have representatives of the so-called Big Six. Again, it's impossible to prove anything, but it's safe to assume conversations have been had and pressure has been applied. So where does this leave everything? Well, in my view, I cannot see how anything can progress from here. Saudi PIF have pulled out, although we've had statements from Staveley, the Reuben brothers and Mike Ashley. Unless the Saudis come back to the table somehow, then there's nothing that can be done. I suppose at least we know the Premier League's position, whether we agree with it or not, and the only way this could reignite is if it ends up in court. Do the Saudis want to buy Newcastle United that much that they go through a lengthy court battle that could take weeks or months or even years to buy the club? I'm not convinced they would. They'll likely just buy a club in another country. As Newcastle United fans, we can keep fighting and applying pressure to the Premier League because there's something we're not being told here. Something dodgy has happened at the Premier League, and Richard Key's mate Gary Hoffman's role in all this really needs investigating, especially with his links to Qatar. The whole thing stinks of corruption, but sadly, I do believe the takeover is over. Whether someone else will come in and bid for the club, we don't know. It looks like it's going to be another long, hard season following Newcastle United. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button. If you haven't enjoyed it, please hit the dislike button and let me know why you didn't like it. And also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please consider subscribing too. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you really soon for another video.